It's hard to believe that it's been 20 years since the beginning of the 7th generation of gaming. Looking back, this wasn't just another generation of consoles. It was a generation that changed gaming forever. The 7th generation served as a bridge between old school gaming and modern gaming. This was the last generation where midnight launches, couch co-op, and physical media were still a thing. But it was also the generation that introduced us to many of the features that we know today. Online gaming became mainstream, digital storefront exploded in popularity, downloadable content became the norm, achievements and trophies were introduced, and wireless controllers, motion controls, and HD gaming became standard. This is also one of the most competitive eras in gaming history. The 360, PS3, and the Wii all had different philosophies, and each offered something unique. The 360 revolutionized online gaming, the PS3 pushed multimedia and blockbuster exclusives, and the Wii brought gaming to millions of people who had never picked up a controller before. It truly felt like a console war, where every system had its own identity. The 7th generation gave us new franchises, unforgettable games, and ambitious ideas. It connected the past and the future of gaming, and in many ways, it was the last generation before everything changed. So today, we're gonna take a deep dive into the 7th generation of gaming and explore why it remains one of the most important and influential eras in video game history. And as usual, this is going to be a long one, so go grab yourself a drink, some food, a blunt, anything you need, sit back and enjoy the video. And also, before we start, I would really appreciate it if you guys liked the video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. And without further ado, let's get into it. Microsoft entered their 7th generation with something to prove. While the original Xbox wasn't profitable, it had built a loyal fan base thanks to games like Halo, and even managed to outsell the GameCube. For a company's first attempt at making a console, that was a respectable start. If you want to know more about the original Xbox, go watch my video on the 6th generation of consoles. Wanting to gain an early advantage over the competition, Microsoft announced the 360 on MTV on May 12, 2005. And it released later that year on November 22nd, nearly a full year before the PS3. That early launch turned out to be one of Microsoft's biggest advantages. By the time Sony entered the market, the 360 already had an established player base, a growing game library, and a strong online community through Xbox Live. When Sony revealed the price of the PS3, many gamers looked at the cheaper Xbox 360 and saw a console that could play many of the third-party games for significantly less money. For the first half of the generation, the 360 felt like the console to own. Xbox Live was unmatched at the time. Achievements became a thing. Party chats and voice messages changed how people were communicating online.
What the fucking shit you done the mic for? Playing your fucking mouth, mate. I'm a grown man. You sent me a message first, yeah? I live in Smethwick, Birmingham. If you want the fucking brawl, come down Smethwick, ask for Danny G. I'll come out of my house and I'll break your fucking legs, you little prick. Now what do you say? Now what do you fucking say?
For many people, Xbox Live wasn't just a place to play games. It was where people hung out after school and talked shit with their friends all night. And the system built a reputation for having one of the best controllers of all time. The shape, the weight, the triggers, everything just felt right. The Xbox also had major releases, including Halo 3, Gears of War, Mass Effect, and Forza. And of course, the 360 wasn't perfect. The console became infamous for the Red Ring of Death, a hardware failure that affected millions of systems and cost Microsoft over $1 billion to address. Despite this massive issue, the 360 remained one of the most dominant consoles of this generation and continued to attract players, thanks to its strong library of games and online features. Later in its life cycle, Microsoft attempted to expand beyond the traditional gaming audience with the Kinect. The motion sensing accessory became a huge commercial success and helped position the Xbox brand as something that could appeal to families and casual players as well. However, some fans felt that the Xbox was beginning to focus more on the casual audience that Nintendo had captured with the Wii, rather than the hardcore online gaming audience that helped make the 360 so popular in the first place. By the end of its life, the 360 had sold more than 84 million units worldwide and helped shape many of the features that defined modern gaming. From achievements and party chat and online communities, the 360 wasn't just a successful console, It was one of the systems that helped push gaming into the future. Sony entered the 7th generation in a very different position than Microsoft. The PS1 had sold over 100 million units worldwide, while the PS2 went to sell more than 160 million units, making it the best-selling console of all time. After dominating 2 generations in a row, Sony entered the 7th generation with a lot of confidence. Not long after the 360 was announced, Sony unveiled the PS3 at E3 2005. Sony promoted the PS3 as the ultimate entertainment machine. The console featured a powerful cell processor, Blu-ray support, built-in Wi-Fi, multimedia capabilities, and on early models, full backwards compatibility with the PS1 and PS2. On paper, it looked like the best console ever made at that time. There was just one problem: the price. At E3 2006, Sony revealed that the PS3 would launch at either $499 or $599, depending on the model. And if you convert that price in today's money, that is a lot of money. The announcement quickly became one of the most infamous moments in gaming history. While Sony was asking consumers to spend hundreds of dollars on a new console, Microsoft already had the cheaper Xbox 360 on the market, with a growing library of games and an established online community. When the PS3 launched in November 2006, it struggled to gain momentum. The cell processor was incredibly powerful, but it was also difficult for developers to work with. Because of this, some third-party games actually performed better on the 360, despite the PS3's impressive hardware. Combined with the high price tag, the PS3 would find itself trailing behind Microsoft's console during the early years of the generation. Another reason why the PS3 struggled early on was the controller. The original 6-axis controller came without rumble functionalities. Sony removed the feature due to legal issues surrounding the vibration technology, and many gamers viewed it as a step back. While the controller did feature motion controls, they were often seen as gimmicky and weren't enough to make up for the lack of vibration. In 2007, Sony addressed the criticism by releasing the DualShock 3, which brought back rumble while retaining the motion controls. The DualShock 3 was much better received and eventually became the standard controller for the PS3. But Sony never gave up. Sony gradually reduced the price of the console, released the PS3 Slim models, and focused heavily on first-party exclusives. As the generation went on, the PS3 built one of the strongest exclusive libraries in gaming history, with titles like Uncharted, Little Big Planet, Infamous, Heavy Rain, God of War 3, The Last of Us, and many more. While PlayStation Network wasn't as popular as Xbox Live, many players appreciated the fact that it was free. Sony also joined the motion control trend with the PlayStation Move in an attempt to compete with the Wii. The PlayStation Move ended up selling 15 million units worldwide, and of course, just like Microsoft, Sony faced its own challenges along the way. In 2011, PlayStation Network suffered a major security breach that forced the service offline for several weeks and became one of the biggest controversies in PlayStation history. Despite its rocky start, Sony managed to completely turn things around by the end of the generation. Thanks to lower prices, a strong lineup of exclusives, and a late surge of momentum, the PS3 eventually surpassed the 360 in sales. And more importantly, it helped establish many of the ideas that continue to define PlayStation today. Cinematic storytelling, blockbuster exclusives, and the console as an all-in-one entertainment hub. The PS3 may have struggled out the gate, but it ultimately became one of the most memorable and influential console of its era. After 2 disappointing generations compared to its competitors, Nintendo found itself in an unusual position. The Nintendo 64 was heavily outsold by the PlayStation, and the GameCube finished far behind the PS2 and was even outsold by the Xbox. With each generation, Nintendo was losing more ground, and it was clear that they needed a completely different approach. Instead of trying to compete with Sony and Microsoft on graphics and processing power, Nintendo decided to focus on innovation. The Wii development began shortly after the release of the GameCube, and Nintendo's goal was simple: create a console that anybody could pick up and play. Rather than building the most powerful system on the market, they built one that focused on motion controls, accessibility, and family-friendly fun. One of the biggest reasons the Wii succeeded was its controller. Instead of using a traditional controller, Nintendo designed the Wiimote to resemble the television remote. It looked familiar, it was not intimidating, and it made motion controls feel natural, even for people who had never touched a video game before. And suddenly, parents, grandparents, uncles, teachers, people who normally had no interest in video games were willing to give it a try.
Oh, to play against one another. Alright.
Nintendo also made sure that the Wii respected its past. The console was backwards compatible with the GameCube and allowed players to purchase classic games through the Virtual Console. Whether you wanted to play the newest release or revisit an old favorite, the Wii gave you plenty of options. When the Wii launched on November 19, 2006, it became an instant phenomenon. The demand was so high that finding one in stores was nearly impossible. And if you were around during that time, you probably remember just how popular it was. It didn't matter whose house you went to. Friends, cousins, co-workers, relatives, there was a good chance they owned a Wii. It wasn't just gamers buying the console, it was everyone. Another major feature was the introduction of Miis. While the Xbox had avatars, Miis were far more popular and became one of Nintendo's most iconic creations. People spent hours creating themselves, friends, celebrities, and even fictional characters. The feature became so popular that Nintendo still uses Miis to this day. By the end of its life, the Wii had sold over 100 million units worldwide and became Nintendo's most successful console at the time. It proved that gaming didn't need cutting-edge graphics to succeed. The Wii helped bring gaming to millions of new people and popularized motion controls, a feature that Nintendo still uses to this day. While the 360 helped shape online gaming and the PS3 helped shape blockbuster experiences, the Wii changed who gaming was for. The 7th generation introduced us to what gaming is today. It was a turning point, but at the same time, it was still bridging the gap between old school gaming and modern gaming. For example, all these consoles still allowed for RCA cables, but still introduced the HDMI for the PS3 and Xbox, something that is a standard in today's gaming. This is also the first generation where online gaming became a really big deal. Now I know that online gaming was still possible in the past, but it wasn't the main focus for most people. The 7th generation made sure that online gaming was here to stay. And speaking of online gaming, this is also when console group chats became popular, thanks to the 360. This is the console that started popularizing game chats. People were literally talking on Xbox instead of talking on the phone, which people are still doing today with the PS5, the Xbox, and even on Discord, or using the Switch 2 game chat if you're weird. This is also when subscription started with the 360 for a gold membership. If you wanted to play online, you needed that gold membership. You could play online for free with the PS3 and the Wii, but Sony later came up with PlayStation Plus, which wasn't required to play online, but it gave you certain benefits like free monthly games and discounts. PS Plus wasn't required to play online until the PS4 came out. This is also when we started getting updates for games. Before that, if a game had an issue, they would need to release a different version of the game. Companies started fixing games with updates. It wasn't nearly as bad as what we had in recent memories, but games had to be updated sometimes. It was still reasonable. This is also when DLCs really became a thing. Depending on the game, it could be as small as a brand new skin for your gun in Call of Duty, or a whole new game like GTA The Lost and Damned, or The Ballad of Gay Tony. But if you were around during that time, you remember just how much DLCs Call of Duty got. It was crazy. Unfortunately, this generation also planted the seed for microtransactions. While they existed in a much smaller form compared to today, publishers began experimenting with new ways to monetize games after release. Compared to what we see today, it felt harmless back then. Motion controls really became a huge deal in that generation. The Wii turned motion controls into a worldwide phenomenon, while Sony experimented with motion controls through the 6-axis controller and the PlayStation Move. Even though motion controls became less prominent, the technology never really disappeared. The DualSense controller and the Switch 2 Joy-Cons still uses motion controls. And speaking of controllers, this is when wireless controllers became the norm. They already existed before, but they never came with the console. Nowadays, every system comes with a wireless controller. I mean, almost every system. These consoles also introduced us to online stores. These stores allowed us to buy games, DLCs, demos, and games from previous generations. The 360 had the Marketplace and Xbox Live Arcade, which allowed you to play old games. The PS3 had the PS Store, and the Wii had Wii Shop channels and the virtual consoles. Every console now has a store, and it all started on the 7th gen. These online stores also helped launch the modern indie game movement. Smaller developers suddenly had a way to reach millions of new players without a physical copy. Games like Castle Crashers, Braid, Limbo, Super Meat Boy, and Journey proved that some of the most creative experiences in gaming could come from small teams rather than major publishers. Built-in Wi-Fi has also become a common thing thanks to the rise of online gaming. All three consoles had it. Deeper system interfaces also became a first. The 6th generation had interfaces, but it wasn't as deep as what it was on the 7th gen. All of these consoles also kind of serve as a home entertainment. The PS3 had so many possibilities, and with the addition of Blu-ray discs, it made it perfect to watch movies. This is also when they started implementing streaming apps like Netflix, which made it even more an entertainment hub. Achievements and trophies also made their debut. It might sound small today, but achievements completely changed how people played games. Suddenly, players were hunting for collectibles, attempting difficult challenges, and replaying games to 100% them. Entire communities were built around achievement hunting, and the concept remains popular to this day. At the same time, local multiplayer was beginning to fade. Couch co-op was still alive, with games like Army of Two, Left 4 Dead, and Ken and Lynch. But the industry was slowly shifting toward online experiences. The 7th generation was the last era where both local multiplayer and online multiplayer felt equally important. This is also the last true physical media era in my opinion. Companies were slowly starting to push downloading games. Physical games still dominated the market, midnight launches were massive events, and collectors lined up outside stores to buy the latest release. Digital downloads still existed, but they had not yet taken over the industry. Almost everything is downloadable now, and if we look at GTA 6, you can't even have a copy, it's just a download code. Unlike previous generations where one company clearly dominated the market, all three consoles sold tens of millions of units, and each offered a completely different vision of what gaming could be, which is why so many people owned multiple consoles during that era. Gamers passionately debated which system was better. Looking back, the 7th generation wasn't just a great era of gaming, it was the generation that built the modern gaming landscape that we live in today. I just want to take a quick moment to talk about the games, because at the end of the day, all of that success wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the games. You can have all the new technology in the world, but if the games are not good, none of it matters. And thankfully, the 7th generation absolutely delivered. One thing that I absolutely love about this era was the variety. It didn't matter which genre you were into, there was something for everybody. The 7th generation had some of the greatest games we've ever seen. If you loved shooters, you had Halo 3, Gears of War, Call of Duty, BioShock, Left 4 Dead, and many more. If RPGs were your thing, you had Mass Effect, Fallout 3, Oblivion, Skyrim, Demon's Souls, and again, many more. Racing fans got Burnout Paradise, Need for Speed, Forza Motorsport, and Gran Turismo. Fighting game fans got Street Fighter 4, Soul Calibur 4, Tatsunoko vs Capcom, Mortal Kombat 9, all the Dragon Ball games, and again, many more. If you like platformers, there was Super Mario Galaxy, Little Big Planet, and Ratchet & Clank. It honestly felt like every couple months, there was another game worth getting excited about. But what really made this generation stand out was how many new franchises were created. This wasn't an era where companies were afraid to take risks. We got Assassin's Creed, Uncharted, Gears of War, BioShock, Dead Space, Mass Effect, Saints Row, Little Big Planet, Borderlands, Infamous, Mirror's Edge, Alan Wake, Bayonetta, No More Heroes, Xenoblade, The Last of Us, and many more. These weren't just great games, they became some of the biggest names in the industry, and most of them are still getting sequels today. The older franchises didn't slow down either. Halo reached new heights with Halo 3 and Halo Reach. Grand Theft Auto gave us 2 games, well, 4 technically, with GTA 4, The Lost and Damned, The Ballad of Gay Tony, and GTA 5. Nintendo released Mario Galaxy, Mario Kart Wii, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and 2 Zelda games with Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. The PlayStation gave us God of War 3, Metal Gear Solid 4, and Gran Turismo 5. Then, there were the third-party games. This generation was absolutely stacked. We had games like Red Dead Redemption, the Batman Arkham series, Dead Space, Assassin's Creed, Portal, Mirror's Edge, Vanquish, Catherine, The Walking Dead, Devil May Cry, Sonic Unleashed, Mafia 2. I could honestly make an entire video just listing games from this generation. There's way more games than that, I'm just scratching the surface. It was also the generation where downloadable games really started taking off. The online stores introduced us to many games like Castle Crashers, Limbo, Super Meat Boy, Trials HD, Shadow Complex, Journey, and the list goes on. It proved that you didn't need a massive AAA budget to make an unforgettable game, and in many ways, it helped kick off the indie boom that we're still seeing today. One thing that is funny about this generation is that a lot of games had this yellow piss filter to them. Like it honestly looked like someone pissed all over the screen. Whether it was Gears of War, Call of Duty, Deus Ex, Killzone, Need for Speed, GTA 4, they all had this yellow filter to make everything look as gritty as possible. The best part about the 7th generation in my opinion is that every console had its own identity. This is why I think so many people consider this to be one of the greatest generations in gaming history. It wasn't just because of the hardware, the graphics, or online gaming. It was because the games themselves were unforgettable. No matter which console you owned, no matter what genre you liked, there was always something amazing waiting for you. So that's gonna wrap up this video, and those are the main reasons why I believe the 7th generation was gaming's turning point and one of the most important generations in video game history. And not only bridged the gap between old school gaming and modern gaming, but it also introduced features that we still use today. Now I'd like to hear from you guys. Do you agree? Do you think the 7th generation was gaming's turning point? What was your favorite console, your favorite game, or your favorite memory from this era? Let me know in the comment section below. And also, I just want to take a quick moment to thank you guys for watching this video. And if you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. It's completely free and it helps the channel. And again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.